Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This time I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
All those in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, special recognitions.
Very good. We are excited, and I just wanted to say real quick to the board members, if you could just keep we're having some troubles with audio every now and then, so just kind of make sure that the little mic is by you if you're speaking tonight. We're excited, really excited tonight to honor Pat Voss, Webster Grove School District legend, has been in the school district community, serving the school district for 51 years, year 51, which is pretty extraordinary. And I've known Pat for 15 years, and she is somebody who has that icon status in terms of her love and care for the district. Whatever she does, she bleeds black and orange. She has more knowledge than anybody I know of the Webster Grove School District. And we are continually tapping into that warehouse in her mind. And the thing that's so beautiful about, there's a lot that's beautiful about Pat, but one of the things that stands out is we're all about people in the Webster Grove School District, and she knows the people and she knows the stories of the people. And that means a whole heck of a lot. So when you talk to her and you hear about the history of a family, or there's a child, and if you hear who their parents were, she knows those stories. In recent history, she's been the head of our Alumni Association, working with Shannon, doing a lot of great stuff to, again, not just raise money, that's a small piece of the foundation, but really, again, maintain the connection and the relationship, being that arm between the school system and the Alumni Association. So she does that. She certainly does a lot of work on top of that, such as being one of the co-leaders of our military history event, which is known across the region for the people that attracts and the learning that our children have as a result of the efforts and how we welcome the veterans into our school system. So we're really excited tonight, Pat, to honor you. I've got a little bit of a letter to honor you, but we have a number of... It's not the same as the $10,000 check that we're presenting tonight that you helped secure, but we have some of your friends and people who have worked with you to say a few words as well. So, thank you. We'll start with Kathy.
That's right. So as Dr. Simpson said, we're here to honor Pat Voss tonight for her leadership and her guidance and the many accomplishments that she's had in our district. You probably all know she came here as a teacher. She's been an administrator at various levels. She runs the copy center, and she built the Alumni Association basically from scratch. She started it, and for that we're all really grateful. Shannon Daniel is going to come forward. She has a few things to say and also a little presentation.
Normally there's a PowerPoint involved, but I started working with Pat back in the day in 2013, and I have learned so much. Do I have to talk into the microphone? Because I can't see. Your head, I can't see her. Okay, sorry.
You can take it off, probably.
No. Oh, okay. So either way, what I wanted to say is I have learned so much, and I so appreciate everything that you have taught me, and you're still teaching me continually. The 51 years is, wow, like that's amazing. I could not imagine doing that. So let's do it again, another 51. I know that you're going to be one of those people that is going to live forever, so let's do it. I cannot wait to see the next 50 years come out, and I so appreciate you helping me throughout this whole entire career. Thank you, Pat. We have a couple of things that we do want to give to you. We went around and had people sign some signatures and said thank you so much, and we hopefully that you will put this up in your, don't leave it, okay, because there's too many things that are left in our office that we have to, file downstairs in our archives. So I just so appreciate you. Thank you so much, Pat. Okay. Oh, and then the next person in line to talk about the awesome Pat would be Ms. Kara Seeby. Yes.
So I got to know Pat, well, I was John Clark's first hire, so as Pat was going out, I was coming in. But I'd always heard of Pat Voss. And I've been doing this New York trip for a while and started taking administrators with me, and John Clark had suggested one year that I take Pat Voss. And I went back to Lizzie Thompson, Lizzie Sprague, who grew up in the district, and I was like, who's Pat Voss? She's like, it's PV Commons. I was like, oh, okay, this is big, all right. And she was awesome. There were times, I look back now, I'm like, I was really young. And you learn a lot the longer you're in education, and you look back and you're like, wow, I would have done things differently then. But Pat really came along and helped me with that trip. You know, she's the type of administrator that if she didn't agree with what you were doing, she didn't send me an email. She would come and be at my door in between a passing period and be like, hey, you got a minute? Or in the morning, and she'd run it past me and say, have you thought about this? I'd be like, oh, I didn't. That's really good. I should have thought about this. And then it was, okay, how can we readjust? And I was like, that's really good. I needed that. And she also always had your back. If I had a kid on that trip that was giving me trouble, she would just say, honey, let me take care of this. And I vividly remember that coming out of Barclays Stadium. As we are all down getting ready to get on the subway, and we had one that was having a personal moment, and Pat took care of that moment in New York. And I was like, wow, that was amazing. And you know what, the great thing, that was like our first night, and the great thing is, she didn't treat that child differently the rest of the trip. It was that conversation, you're going to change your behavior, and they were great the rest of the trip. And that's a neat characteristic too. She doesn't hold a grudge. It's a let's take care of it. It's a learning process, and let's move forward. The other thing Pat always did on the New York trip is she would surprise the kids whenever we went to a sporting game. And food's expensive in the stadium, so a lot of these kids have helped pay for their trip. She would hand out envelopes to all of them when we got there with cash to buy food. It's out of her pocket to give them money, and we're talking like 40 to 50 kids that Pat is shelling out her money to get something to eat. She'd always come to me and be like, is there anybody who's having trouble making payments? Yes, I've got this much missing. And all of a sudden I'd end up with an envelope of cash that's taken care of. Don't worry about it. And of course, didn't say Pat took care, it was just, we all knew where it came from. But she wanted to make sure everything was available to all of our kids, all the time. Last year was the first year I had her on the team to go to New York. And the other thing she used to say in the meetings, because I run these kids ragged in New York, and she would tell them, if I can keep up with CB, you can keep up with CB. And there are a couple times I'd look back and be like, oh dear God, is Pat still behind me? Okay, here we go. Last year it was hard because Pat was going to come with, and I was really excited. And the only thing that got us was at the end her doctor said, no, you can't go. So we had a fill-in come. And that would normally have meant that for my DECA account, I would have had a loss of funds again, because now we have to pay for someone to go. Pat paid. Pat paid the way for that staff member to go, so that cost was not passed on to kids. She does bleed orange and black. She bleeds love for kids. And that's what our district's about, is the kids. And that's what she has given her entire life to, which is why I knew, I'm like, why are you here? It's your son's birthday. You should be with your kids. That's what she would tell me. But my kids know about Pat, and they know that I love teaching because of people like Pat have taught me what it's to be like an educator. So I'm so grateful for you. You've kept me sane. You've made it so I can still be a teacher. You come by at those moments where I'm about to explode, and you're like, go take a break. I've got this. And you've done it for a lot of us. And I appreciate your consistency and your love for our kids. So thank you. And now I'm going to go with my child. That's what you want me to do. We love
you. I'm so sorry I had to write my speech because I get emotional. I try to wait. So I just want want to say that Miss Voss is one of my very favorite people on the planet. It's actually quite difficult for me to put into words without getting choked up the tremendous impact that she's had on my career and my life. In my 17 years with Webster Grove School District, she has been one of the most influential and personal mentors with whom I've worked. I've grown so much as a professional and human being because of what she's taught me. And for that, I'm truly thankful to know and to work with her. Ms. Voss is the kind of person that doesn't just educate our children, but she leaves them with valuable life lessons like be kind, be fair, work hard, give 100% of your effort to everything you do, expect the best of yourself, and for God's sake, use some common sense. For over 50 years, she's given the best of herself to this district, and her dedication is second to none. There's simply not enough time tonight to tell you all the countless contributions that she's given to this district. But just to name a few, under her tenure, the high school celebrated more diverse activities to match students' interests. There was an implementation of the 7-period school day to allow students to take more courses to meet increased graduation requirements. The implementation of the A+ program, the much anticipated visit from President Clinton, that was a big one. A feature article in Time magazine, and of course several state championships. During her tenure, Ms. Voss brought greatness to the district and solidified the legacy of Webster Groves High School. We even named the Commons after her while she's still alive, so that says a lot. We have much to thank her for. Even after she retired, she continued to bring positive change to the district. We live in an age of rapid technology change where teenagers live their lives via social media and moments are captured with our cell phone cameras and then quickly forgotten. I think we would all agree in the age of constant selfies that perhaps some of our key moments as a school may be lost in the digital abyss. Ms. Voss recognizes that but knows the value of preserving and recording our school's history and the legacy for future generations to see. She has worked tirelessly in her retirement to preserve those key moments, celebrate alumni for their accomplishments, and bring them back to Webster to connect with our current students. Celebrate former athletes at sporting events and educate our students on the importance of Douglas High School and their impact on our progress as a district. She is the ultimate cheerleader and fan, often hosting contests and events to boost school spirit. She is an excellent storyteller with a keen memory, which makes her perfect for her position. She believes that personal connections with those from our past make us stronger. She is our district's resident historian, and quite frankly, I don't know what we'll do without her. Call me. We are all in her debt for keeping our district's and high school's tradition alive and lasting. But above all else, I just want you to know that I admire her generous spirit, especially when it comes to helping students succeed. At this point in her life, there's no doubt that she's donated at least a quarter of her salary to students in need. But I'm sure she doesn't want recognition for this. It's just something that she feels compelled to do for the satisfaction of seeing students achieve great things. She has enabled many students the opportunity to travel, see the world, and gain valuable real-life experiences to enhance their education. My own son, Spencer, was so fortunate to have an alumni office intern position with her office, and he was given the responsibility to create display cases honoring our veterans, photograph events for the archives, maintain alumni records and correspondence, and ultimately was given the task to co-coordinate the annual Veterans Day program. She expressed her confidence, trust, and faith in him, and the best part is, then she just let him soar. That's what she does. So Spencer wanted me to say this of his experience with you. I look forward to seeing Ms. Voss every day. She never gave up on me and always wanted what was best for me as a student and an individual. In her short 50 years of work at Webster Groves High School, I'm certain that she has changed the lives of countless students. I guarantee that these students felt appreciated, trusted, and loved in Ms. Voss's care. This is certainly how I felt. Other than my parents, Ms. Voss is the greatest mentor throughout my experiences in life thus far. Thank you, Ms. Voss. John F. Kennedy said, "We must find time to stop and thank the people who make a difference in our lives."
Pat, you've been making a difference in so many lives for so long. And I just want to personally thank you for everything you've done to me, and I will be eternally in your debt. Thank you so much.
Good evening, familiar faces. I promise I didn't bring anything written down, and I won't take as long to speak as I did the last time I got a chance to talk. I have had the pleasure and sometimes interaction with Ms. Voss for about 42 years now. Fortunately, she hasn't known me all that well for 42 years, which means I stayed out of trouble. Walking the halls as a 14-year-old freshman starting in fall of 1977. I think you were hired by Mr. Knight, correctly? Is that correct?
Came to the high school together. He was already in the district.
Very good. So Mr. Knight of Knight Auditorium, who I used to lovingly call, under my breath, the big hippie, because he was the guy with the goatee, and he was a pretty liberal guy, but he was a taskmaster, and many of my classmates remember Pat Voss from her unit. I was in a different unit with another assistant principal. But everyone respected Pat for the things that she brought to the table every day. Her colleagues, the people she worked with in the district, always looked up to her as an example of how to be an educator and how to be a good person. I have now luckily become a friend, and I'm very thankful to call Pat my friend as well. 51 years out of about 130 at the high school now, that's close enough to half for me. So we're just going to round that up. To spend that much time, and for a girl who was a DeBerg graduate, to have as much love for our district, and specifically our high school, and all of its kids that have come through, it's just amazing to me. I mean, that's a long time. I sometimes think she's around long enough because she wanted to beat Wojak and Minnie Phillips in tenure. And that took a lot, because they were both here a long time. So on behalf of the Alumni Relations Group that meets regularly, people including Kevin Walker and Calvin Cunningham and people like that, I want to say congratulations for your long-term service. You are a gem. We appreciate that. As was said earlier, I don't know what we're going to do as far as the depth and breadth of knowledge and history. I love talking with Pat. We've gone to lunch several times, and I'll always say, whatever happened to this person? She'll say, oh, I had lunch with that person just about 2 months ago when they were in town. And it could be literally anybody that worked at the high school. And sadly, we've lost many, many people that she worked with as well. And so I know that pains her, because she had a really good relationship with basically everybody she worked with. So, Pat, again, congratulations. It's an honor to call you a friend.
Thank you. Look, Miss Pat, do you mind taking a look at the cake before we cut it? And
Do you want to say a few words, Pat?
Yeah.
Yes.
Please.
Impromptu. Impromptu. Yeah, you got this.
As Steve indicated, I was Catholic school educated, K-12, and a lot of my college experience was also Catholic school. I went to work at Rosetta Kane, Catholic girls' school in the city, and there I met a former teacher at Webster Groves High School. She had retired and came there, and she said to me one day, "Girl, why are you working here for this money?" And I said to her, well, I grew up Catholic, and I just thought it was the thing to do. So she called Max Wolfram, and I got a contract. I never interviewed for my job at the high school. I just received a contract, which incidentally was twice my salary. I thought I died and went to heaven. When I came, it was very much of a shock to me for many reasons, but I found so many caring, loving people in both parents and students and staff that I fell in love with the place. I've stayed because I've never not been able to try something new within the district. I've always been given the opportunity to do that. A lot of people have to leave to go into administration or become an activity sponsor or become a high school principal or open an alumni office. But that's one of the wonderful things I have been able to do in my career, is have a lot of experiences but still do them within one place. And I want to give the kids a lot of kudos, because I've grown so much as a person because of the kids at Webster Groves High School. There are several major gifts they've given to me. You must understand, I grew up in a totally white world, and that's where I was with Rosetta Kane. So when I entered that high school, it was the first time I entered a world that was diverse. And that has been one of the greatest things that I have ever learned. My tolerance for all kinds of differences has grown tremendously. And they taught me that different just says it's not like something else. We're not passing judgment. It's not a judgment statement. It's just not like this thing. That doesn't make it good, bad, or otherwise. And I will always value that lesson. And the other thing they taught me is to be respectful of the environment. I think those are the two greatest gifts that I have learned from kids. And I've learned every day just funny things that, you know, that happen in interchanges with people. I always swore I was going to write a book because of just the funny experiences I've had with kids. Or, in fact, to give you one quick answer. I worked so hard teaching a lesson in geography about laissez-faire as an economic system. Now remember, this is 50 years ago. We go back a while. That's all that's changed. Worked so hard. Kid writes a paper, gives it to me, and he kept talking about the lazy fairy. The lazy fairy did this, the lazy fairy did that. So those are the kinds of funny things that happen. Thinking, I missed the mark on that one completely with that kid. But those are the kinds you have to be able to step back, and if you can't laugh about what you've experienced, you know, you're not going to move forward. And everybody talks about the love I gave, but a tremendous amount of love comes from those kids and parents and faculty members as well. Webster Groves for me has always been a team. And Jerry Knight taught me that. He was my mentor, my boss for 17 years, but Jerry would never allow you to use the term boss. He always said, we work together. You don't work for me. We are a team. We all bring skills to the team, and everyone is valued within the team. He could make the tough decisions, but he really did want everybody to feel that they were a part of what happened. It'll be sad next year when I don't, for the 52nd year, open that door in August. But I just want to say thank you to the board and everybody for giving me the opportunity to have the wonderful 51 years that I have had and the varying experiences that I have had. I'll tell you other funny stories that come to mind. When we looked at diversity, we didn't have any women in administration either. When I first came on the scene, it was a male-dominated world. So that was one of the jobs they gave Jerry to do, was to make sure we had a woman. God love that poor man. I don't know how he survived everything that was happening when he first came to the high school. And he came to me and said, Pat, I want you to be one of my assistant principals. And I looked right in, because you can tell I'm not a shy and retiring person. And I said to him, am I your token woman? Is that what you want me for? Jerry said, no. I said, I don't want this job unless you think I'm qualified. So he had all of the women getting their feelings. He was helping our high school that had been integrated from 57 truly become integrated. Because there's a difference when you invite various cultures in, but if you don't invite them to be part, you still separate, you're in a segregated world. So that was, Jerry really was the one who pushed that. Had that and the women's movement. He gave us a famous edict, and he tells me this is why I ended up in administration. He sent us a note that said, I am granting the women permission to wear slacks to work on our professional development day. So, of course, Kay Wojak and a couple other of us, myself right in the middle of them, we got together and huddled. So someone has given us permission to do this. Well, we wore them for weeks. Jerry called Kay and I, and he said, I will admit defeat. I promise you I will never do anything that stupid again. And when he brought me into administration, I'd been in for a year, he said, you know what they always tell you? If you got a rebel rouser, move them out of the classroom and make them one of the administrators. They have to be part of the team that has to deal with all the crazies. So that was part of the reason that Jerry said, and I thought if I brought you in, I could use that energy in a much more positive manner. So, okay. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you. We wanted to celebrate. We've got a cake, thanks to Shannon. Shannon went out and got a cake.
I made it.
We made it perfectly. So we'll slice it and divide up, and we will have to resume our board meeting in a little bit, a few moments, but that was the plan.
Is this an appropriate time to sing happy birthday to Sherry?
We sing happy birthday. It's Sherry's birthday.
Yes. Because Christine told me. I don't know anything.
David, Alex, and Arnold, here are the shirts, but if you could just lift it up and just confirm that the size is the size that you wanted, and I'm going to have them all in the next couple weeks. Extra warm and toasty. We make it a thinner one. Take it.
Extra large.
Our first opportunity for public comments. Would anyone like to make a public comment? All right, seeing none. Another special recognition.
Another special recognition. We have the opportunity tonight, Mr. Patrick Lee. All of us know Patrick in a lot of different ways, but of course through his role as a student advisor to the board. Patrick, last year went through, or in the spring of, I guess it was 17, went through a pretty rigorous process along with Jessica Peterson, who we honored at the last meeting, to become a student advisor to the Board of Education. There were somewhere between 12 to 15 applicants who applied. They submitted their letters stating why they wanted to be on the board, what value they felt their voice could bring to a Board of Education, to decision making. After the initial application, that letter, we then had an interview process, and Patrick was one of the two that rose to the top. I think we've all talked about Patrick in a lot of different moments, and the wisdom that he possesses, the goodness that is Patrick Lee. I think we would all say that we benefit again from his contributions to difficult decision making. Last year, Patrick thankfully inserted his voice as we were talking about the tough decision that we were having to make with what should we do with our space crunch. Patrick brought wisdom and perspective to that, talked about the value, his perspective of what a middle school could bring to the culture and climate at that time of age for students. Patrick also last year was a part of a small group that started exploring the idea of moving graduation beyond high school. And I would say he took a strong leadership position with that in those discussions, and from the onset started talking about the students and looking at graduation through a lens of equity, of the difficulty that some parents have and some families have getting to a graduation like ours on time. And is it more important to have seats for everybody that they can see or maintain what has been a however long old tradition? I mean, many of us only know of graduation having occurred at Moss Field. Patrick brought that discussion early on. He initiated a focus group that included some of his peers of student council, and ultimately again spoke at a Board of Education meeting, sharing his wisdom, his contributions, his thoughts regarding that particular change. Patrick, you're an amazing human being. I look forward to still interacting with you, seeing you through high school, following your career and your life beyond. We couldn't be more excited to honor you here this evening with a certificate, a little something, and congratulations. Before Patrick says a few words, does anybody else want to share? You don't feel the pressure. You don't everybody need to share. Christine?
Quickly. Yeah, Patrick, I think we've known you because Elise and you were in Avery together along the way, and I think I had told you I worked with your grandfather at St. Louis University, and your grandfather was always kind, and he was a true servant leader and brought humor and gentleness to his job, and I just think that he would be so proud of you because I see some of those same traits in you. So I can't wait to see where you go. I know I'll hear through Elise, and congratulations and thank you for your service.
I'll say something really quick. Sorry. One of the things that impressed me the most is when I saw you interacting at the Special Olympics last spring with the kids and how they took to you and the special care that you took to make them feel welcome. And that was one of the things that stood out to me about you. So the same, good luck and everything. We can't wait till we know you're going to be probably president one day. I'll vote for you.
Thank you. Well, I just really like to thank each and every single person sitting in this room who has always been here, and every single board meeting that I come to with a beaming smile on their face and just the utmost dedication and passion and commitment to the Webster Grove School District. And it's really been an honor to experience and get to know everybody a little more in depth and see all of the constant time and effort that is put in to making the school district run as well as it has. And I have, gained so much insight and experience and, like comfortability talking with others and just kind of putting myself out there a little bit. But none of that would have been possible without just the warm, welcoming environment that exists here every single Monday night and beyond into each and every school day and often past that. And I'd like to thank you guys for just really creating an amazing experience for me. And yeah.
Thank you. Do you want to share who that gentleman is behind you?
Yeah, this is my dad.
Mr. Kevin Lee, you have an amazing son. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys so much again.
Thank you.
Thank you. Great job.
Thank you. Congratulations. And you don't have to stay anymore, so this would be a time where if you wanted to go do homework or...
I probably should be proactive.
Have a great night.
So much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, John, anything you want to point out on the correspondence logger or the calendar, or is that just for?
Nope, just for updates and just a reminder that we did set the board tax rate hearing for the next 6 p.m. before the next meeting on September 23rd. So that's going to be posted, it is posted, but just want to make sure you guys were aware of that.
Okay, perfect. I believe you have an update on the redistricting process.
Yes. Let me get to my notes here. So we did, as you know, I shared at the last meeting, we made the decision last year, kind of knew we were going in the direction where we were going to engage an outside firm in a leadership capacity to support our elementary redistricting efforts. This past summer, we submitted an RFQ. It was placed in a number of publications. It was sent to a number of vendors that we knew do this type of work. From that process, that process yielded 5 different companies. They submitted qualifications. We vetted those qualifications. I had a team at that time that assessed those independently and came together at that point, and there was consensus that we wanted to move forward with 2 particular groups. Those 2 groups were MGT Consulting Group as well as Cooperative Strategies. The reason that we went forward with those groups, all of the groups had these very high levels of the GIS, geospatial technical skills to be able to draw the lines, to populate lines so that we could monitor what demographics look like now, what would they look like in our projection series. But the 2 companies that kind of rose to the top because of their attention to the process. That includes just how are they going to work with us, how are they going to engage the community, and they were kind of very thoughtful in their initial statement. So what we did from that point is we pushed back out to them a proposal that included some of the same information that we had with the statement, some additional information. They had approximately 3 weeks to submit those. In between the submittal date and the date we gave them to them, there was an opportunity to engage with us in a conference call to ask questions about the particular project so that they could learn more. Ultimately, the 2 of them submitted their proposals, and so we vetted those. My internal team vetted those, myself, Pam, Bruce, and Chris. And then we had invited those companies in for a face-to-face interview, both David as well as Ainsley. who's working in Kathy V's office, joined us for that interview process. The interview process was them presenting their proposals and then answering questions of us. At that point, we had asked them to submit their bid blindly, so we didn't see who we were, cost wasn't coming into our decision making. At that stage, following that process, we felt that, again, unanimously, that Cooperative Strategies, their attention to the process, their understanding of the Webster Groves community, each has their own ability to do the technical piece. But we felt from a process standpoint, from an understanding point, from a relationship standpoint, that they were the pick. Then we opened the bids and saw that they were within. We had budgeted $50,000 to do the work. Their bid came in at $49,600. Just a few $1,000s over the work that they had done the year before, but I feel like this work is probably going to actually be more extensive than that. So for those reasons, we made the decision to go with Cooperative Strategies. They have extensive experience in the redistricting process. The project lead, Scott Leopold, says that, I can't remember what it was somewhere around 80% of the work that he does around the country is actually redistricting. This is a little bit of an easier project from a technical standpoint because usually they're looking at middle school and high school feeder programs as well. He's currently finalizing doing a redistrict effort for a school district that has 70,000 kids. So this is a little bit smaller. Again, their plan, their attention reflects our need, presented some different ideas for how to engage different groups that are hard to engage, recognizing it within our district who some of those groups are or have been. And so I'll open it up to any questions, but tonight I just got the contract this afternoon. Doug hasn't reviewed it yet. So tonight what I'm going to ask you is to approve a recommendation for them pending approval of legal counsel saying the contract looks good. So questions?
Will Scott be our main contact person again?
Scott will be the main contact. It'll be the same duo.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's estimated start date and estimated end date?
We are going to, the start date coming out, we talked about if they were approved, they are going to be doing some work. They're doing some work right now in Kirkwood. So if approved, we would have an initial meeting date in a couple weeks. I'd spend the day kind of designing process and stuff like that. So we would be getting underway fairly quickly. Our hope at this point is to try and finalize the process somewhere possibly in March. We said we got to do it by June, just because, again, we've got all the steps that come after that. But we're going to try and get through the process if we can by March. Yeah.
Just because you were there.
Yeah, absolutely. So yes, I would just concur with what John has said. Certainly grateful for both of the companies that came out and spoke to us. I think in everybody's minds, Cooperative Strategies just came out. Their proposal just looked superior. Not that the other company absolutely couldn't have done the job, but we had the opportunity to. But we didn't know that. So I think the point that John makes, it is important to understand that we made the decision before we opened the bids. They were clearly, I think in everybody's minds, they were clearly superior. And then when we opened the envelopes, certainly their bid happened to be significantly lower than the other one. But it wasn't a cost-driven decision. It was based on the abilities that were brought by the companies to bear. And just their whole proposal, I think, clearly based on what they'd done before, they know the district. I think that they made an effort. They wanted to come and work with us. I suspect they may have shaved their bid a little bit just in order to be able to come and work with us again. I think that we got a good deal out of them. So I'm grateful to John and to the rest of the committee for allowing me to sit in on that process, and would heartily concur with everything John has said.
No questions or comments? All right, then if we're ready to proceed, we do need a motion, which should be in your agenda.
And what isn't in there is the pending
Okay,
review
sorry.
from legal, no, it's in there,
Yeah.
but I added the piece about just pending review from legal counsel.
Okay.
I make a motion that the Webster Grove School District Board of Education approve the proposal from Cooperative Strategies to facilitate our enrollment space process for a fee of $49,660, which includes reimbursable travel expenses, pending the approval of legal counsel.
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Great, thank you. Board equity training.
Next thing, and I'm sorry I just got you these statements right now, and I sent you an email just a couple hours ago. You probably didn't get a chance to look at them, but I just gotten the final one. We had talked about at the last meeting, looking at the different proposals, and what I did is just kind of put in what the experiences would be facilitated by the 3 different companies to lead the equity training. Again, the equity training being something that's for the board, where we invite the different city leaders from the 5 municipalities that make up our school system to be a part of it. I can give you a little bit of time to look over them. The first one is the Educational Equity Consultants. That's the group that works with our staff. The next one is the NCCJ, which is the organization we talked about last time that has worked with us in the past. We have some of our students who participate in their intense training over the summertime. And then the final one, which certainly is a little bit more lean, is the one from the professor currently who's working with district leadership.
Can we take some time and look at these and then just email you a
Yeah.
reference and then see if there's a consensus? And if it's like really close, then maybe we can bring it back for discussion. I personally
Yeah,
haven't had a chance to.
a little more time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That work for everybody?
It's just one
Like
question.
within the next week or so, though, let's not let it.
Just one question. Is there anything else to review beyond what we have here?
No, these are the 3 proposals. The only thing would be is, if you like one proposal over the other, or one group over the other, it would just be coming back to you to talk about what the cost would be.
Okay.
And that could obviously be a decision maker if one was going to be more expensive significantly than the others.
I guess that would be my question, is that, are they all around, I mean, if they're all around the same ballpark, I think it's great, but if one's gonna be like,
Yeah.
way out of the,
I don't know about one of them.
Okay.
But I can send those costs to you. Yeah.
Just
2 are in the ballpark.
Are we better off giving you our feedback first and then hearing about the costs, so we don't end up with a bias that's based on the costs? I realise we're making up with the wrong decision at that, or they did a decision at that point, but I'd rather...
For me, the cost can be negotiable.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like, if we like a particular organization, it's a little bit high, we can say, well, we're not going to do it for this, but we can do it for this.
And are they all talking about the same amount of time?
Yeah, and I gave them, we kind of jumped off. The Equity and Ed was the first group that submitted, and then it just so happened that the NCCJ workshop was about the same length of time, and so I told Dr. Banks, about the same length of time, 6 to 8 hours.
Okay.
Yeah.
They, on their websites, they have, like, if we wanted to look further into what they do or what have you.
I can send you the information of their websites.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
Can we do that?
That sounds great.
Thank you.
Ms. Frazier.
Good evening. In your packet, you can see we have some information on the tax recoupment. It's time of the year that the business office starts working on our tax rate calculation for 2019. We have not been able to finalize those numbers yet. We're still waiting for assessed valuation numbers from the county. They called us last Thursday and said we would have them by Monday, which is the deadline they have to get them to us by, but they will not be finished because they're still going through the Board of Equalization because of all the appeals that they had, and they said there are probably some appeals that are not going to be done when we get our final numbers. So we're trying to work out that kink right now in calculating that tax rate. So when we do the tax rate hearing notice, which needs to go to the paper this week, we're going to have to use the numbers that we have right now, and we'll put a disclaimer on those that those numbers are subject to change. So last September, if you remember, Mr. Ellerman talked about doing the recoupment. So that is a process that a district can do if the state tax commission, a court, or there's a clerical error that lowers someone's assessed valuation. So once that's done, the district can go back and raise the tax rate to recoup the revenue that was lost. Because if the district would have known that that assessed valuation was lower at the time it set the tax rate would have been higher. So basically, it's just correcting to what that tax rate should be. So when we look at the recoupment for the district right now, we can recoup just under $200,000 from 2017 and about $213,000 for 2018. I can do a rough estimate that that's going to be about 32 cents for a commercial taxpayer, but I don't have our final assessed valuation number, so that could change. And it's just a third of 1 penny roughly for a residential taxpayer. I emailed the St. Louis County districts to find out how many districts do this on a regular basis. 16 of them responded to me, and 10 of them said, yes, we do it every time we have the opportunity. 5 said they do not, and 1 said they are considering doing it for the first time, just like we are here. And if you remember last year, the recommendation from Dr. Simpson and Mr. Ellerman was to start doing this recoupment, but they couldn't do it last year. This is the first year that the district was eligible in the last couple of years to do that. So the recommendation is to capture the lost revenue by using the recoupment calculation when we calculate the tax rate for the tax rate hearing in 2 weeks.
Anybody have questions? Harold?
I was just going to say, don't leave any money on the table.
Yeah, I agree, yeah. I'm just curious, did the, of the 5 districts that do not do it, did they give you any reason why?
Of those that do it, the 10 out of 16, they do it for both commercial and residential?
Most of them do, not all of them answered that part of the question, so I don't know for sure.
Sure.
I think that the if you're going to do this, I think you should do this across the board. As it turns out, the amount that's residential is really going to be very minimal if you consider the way our property tax or our property base works out. You've got a much smaller number on a much bigger base, but nonetheless, I think we should treat our businesses and residential in the same way, and I concur with Arnold's sentiment.
I agree.
Pam had estimated, we were just kind of working in her office, that it would be $1.70 for a house that was $300,000. So it's a pretty small amount of money for most folks on the residential side.
So this is another great example of Bruce finding us more money, and I appreciate you following through and making it happen. So, makes sense. So do you need a motion?
No, we'll just put it
You'll
into
just
the
do it?
tax rate.
Okay, all right, thanks, Pam.
Thank you.
More money, yay.
Yeah, and lastly, and again, thanks to an anonymous donor, reached out to Pat sometime at the end of last school year, beginning of this summer, and talked about that he was interested in giving money to Avery Elementary. He didn't go all the way through our high school. He ended up going to a different school because his mom was a teacher and taught at a different school, so he finished his academic career someplace else. But he has really fond memories of Avery, and specifically the music and the social studies programs there. Pat just passed me an envelope tonight where he wrote all about his experiences there, so I look forward to reading that. But he reached out to Pat, said college that he attended has plenty of money, and that Webster Groves School District could benefit more from his contribution than his university. So he's kind of remained anonymity. We've tried reaching out to him, and he hasn't connected with us. But we'll send him letters and written correspondence. And if we can get him to Avery, we'll try everything we can. Kevin Starks has reached out to him multiple times. And so tonight, since it's a donation over $5,000, the board has to approve it. And so there's a motion in your...
You make an emotional motion.
No. A motion to approve the donation.
All right.
Make a motion to approve the donation of $10,000 to Avery School.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? I cannot. Okay. Thank you to anonymous donor.
Yeah.
And to Avery for being a great place to make people want to donate.
Yeah.
All right, we now have our second opportunity for public comment. Would anyone like to make a public comment at this time? All right, seeing no interest, I will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I move we approve the consent agenda items 7.02, 7.03, 7.04, 7.05.
Second?
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Motion
No
for
one
adjournment.
Motion to
Second. Who was that?
That was on.
All right, you want to second it, Alex? Or Gina, get it? All right. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.